Good morning, and welcome to this broadcast service from Kincardine United Church. Thank you for joining us here, either live streamed via Zoom, and our apologies for a few technical glitches getting connected on our end, or if you join us on our YouTube channel, search Kincardine United Church, Ontario, and thank you to Terry Boyd for getting that uploaded every Monday. Or last but certainly not least, all those who watch and have been watching for many years a week later on our local cable channel. My name is Kevin Hart, and I'm filling in for Reverend Gord Dunbar, who was away on study leave for this past week. It's an honor to be able to share in this way with you this morning. Had this been a normal summer, Kincardine would have been the place to be in Huron Shores this weekend for the Scottish Festival. Alas, the festival has been cancelled, the new normal for any such mass gathering or event right now. A decision was made here at Kincardine United Church to still observe some of the spirit of the festival and to provide the music that you just heard this morning from Nathan on the pipes and Andy Smith on the drums. Thank you guys for being here, and we will hear more of their music throughout the service. Thanks as well to everyone else who makes this particular aspect of our ministry possible. This morning, John and Mary Phillips are taking over the tech end of things as Judy and Jim Zarubik spend some time with family. And thanks for being here, Judy, and helping out with this. David Hamilton is ever manning the organ bench. And Dave Walker looks after the building and makes sure that things are properly cleaned up when we're done here from week to week. Liz Dillman and John Phillips look after the money and finances, and Sarah McKenzie coordinates things from the office. But a special thanks to Reverend Gord, who helped to cover for Sarah this week. And a warm welcome and hello to any of my family and friends who are tuning in and offering virtual support and encouragement. My father, for one, is watching live. Hi, Dad. And has even been in this church when I was formally recognized as a lay worship leader or a designated lay minister. When we gather here and participate in the service, feel free to participate as much as you are able or you would like. We use the print, a red print in bold for me and black print for everybody else to respond to. So I'd invite you to practice that as we acknowledge the land. For thousands of years, the First Nations people have lived on this land and by these waters. This relationship is at the center of their lives and spirituality.
We are gathered as a non-Indigenous community of faith in the traditional territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation and acknowledge their stewardship through the ages.
I've been asked to share one announcement, particularly this morning. It was on the slides that you saw scrolling through there. KUC Digital Photo Album is coming soon. Krista Ritchie asked me to share this from the pulpit here this morning. At this time of separation, ministry and mission are offering the opportunity to be in a digital photo album. Thank you to Lee Cox, who's making this possible. The idea is that we send pictures to Lee's Gmail address, and once compiled, a link will be shared for us to view. Send pictures of how you've been spending or filling your time. Painting, working, knitting, woodworking, gardening, etc. The pictures will speak for themselves. There will be no names or text added. And you must understand that your photos are online, so if you participate, you need to be okay with that. At this time, we take a moment to light this Christ candle. This light shines in the darkness, casts hope and peace in times of turmoil. And so we give thanks to that Christ who came to offer us comfort and peace. So now the lads, Nathan and Andy, will prepare us for our worship time together. Prayer based on the Scottish blessing, and we'll do this responsibly as well. So I'd invite you to join me again. I'll lead. May the blessing of light be on you, light without and light within. May the blessed sunlight shine on you like a great peat fire, so that stranger and friend may come and warm himself at it.
And may light shine out of the two eyes of you, like a candle set in the window of a house, bidding the wanderer come in out of the storm.
And may the blessing of the rain be on you. May it beat upon your spirit and wash it fair and clean, and leave there a shining pool where the blue of heaven shines, and sometimes a star.
And may the blessing of the earth be on you, soft under your feet as you pass along the roads, soft under you as you lie out on it, tired at the end of the day. And may it rest easy over you when, at last, you lie out under it.
May it rest so lightly over you that your soul may be out from under it quickly, up and off on its way to God. And now may the Lord bless you, and bless you kindly. Amen. Now we will join our voices together as you're able and as you're willing. Our opening hymn is Joyful, Joyful, We Adore You. All your works with Chanting bird and flowing fountain, sound their praise eternally. You are giving and forgiving, ever blessing, ever blessed, wellspring of the joy of living, ocean depth of happy rest, source of grace and fount of blessing, let your light upon us shine. Teach us how to love each other, lift us to the joy divine. Mortals join the mighty chorus which the morning stars began. God's own love is reigning o'er us, joining people hand in hand. Ever singing, march we onward, victors in the midst of strife. Joyful music leads us onward in the triumph song of life. I was asked, why are we doing the assurance of grace ahead of the prayer of confession? And so just a little explanation around that. The theology that we are embracing here goes like this. God's grace and God's love are unconditional. They do not literally require us to do anything. If we seek it, that's fine. If we don't, we may still receive it. God's love, God's grace are unconditional. We receive them as they are. And if we feel so led, we may offer a confession. So I'd invite you to join me, as you're inclined, in the prayer of confession. Oh, excuse me. Let's have that assurance of grace. I explained the theology. It can be challenging, even downright difficult to get it right sometimes. This is especially true about our relationships. Our relationships with you, O God, our relationships with each other, and our relationship with your wonderful creation we call home, this planet Earth. And even as we fail to do or get it right, even when we start off with right and the best of intentions, your response is always love. Love that comforts and cleanses us, love that forgives us and encourages us to seek reconciliation with all our relations. Thanks and praise and honor be yours, Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer. And now I would invite you to join me in the prayer of confession. We mean well, O God, but often we do the wrong thing.
We are quick to advise, but we are slow to stop and listen.
We mean well, O God, but often we do the wrong thing.
We give a promise to another person, but then do not follow through.
We mean well, O God, but often we do the wrong thing.
We affirm our willingness to grow in the faith, but when the opportunity comes, we cannot find the time.
We mean well, O God, but often we do the wrong thing.
We pledge support to the faith community, but go it on our own.
We mean well, O God, but often we do the wrong thing.
We say we are members of the family of all humankind, but fail to support those who are oppressed at home and abroad.
Thanks be to God. Okay. Since we started a little late, this won't matter to folks watching on YouTube or the cable channels so much. For our sharing time, I'd just like to take a few moments. And one of the things that I would like to ask you to do, since we've already had a little glitch, and if something else happens, and God forbid, I'm hoping for the best for our tech crew particularly, I have a couple of questions or thoughts that I'd like you to consider as we go through the rest of the service. First of all, during this time of pandemic, during this COVID crisis, what has changed in your life for the better? What are you celebrating about this time? And that might be a difficult question to answer, but I encourage you to really consider what has brought you some good in all of this. And if it's easier, or perhaps you'd like to consider this as well, what has been challenging? You probably already have many answers to that question. So as we go through the rest of the service, I figure there's going to come a time where I'll be tired of hearing my own voice, but during the prayers of the people, the community prayers, I'd invite you to take those thoughts that you've had about these questions and lift them up before God. Lift them up in thanksgiving for those things that have changed for the better in your life. And lay those things before God that you find challenging. Pray for some guidance, for some peace. Now we'll get on from there. I would like to just quickly share with you a couple of things about what has been challenging for myself and for my partner Charlie. We had planned on being retired, and we had planned on being on the road 24/7 in our travel trailer, and living the life of Riley, as it were. Now, that didn't come together for us over the last year, and so this winter, we found ourselves extremely grateful that we still have a place to call home. Because had we been out there when all of this started to happen, we would have been kind of at loose ends as to where we should come back to. For myself, one of the things that I've been doing recently, I won't be putting a picture of this online in the digital photo album. When the state of emergency was declared, I was a week away from having a hernia surgery operation. So a few weeks ago, 6 weeks ago this Tuesday to be exact, when things started opening up, because we have not been affected so severely here in Bruce County, in Grey County, and surrounding areas, elective surgeries were scheduled again. So for the last 6 weeks, I've been kicking back. And my partner Charlie has found that he doesn't need me as much as he thought he did. I think that's a good thing. But that's what we've been doing. We've been actually camping out in our front parking lot, looking over the back 40, and trying to live the dream. And again, we're just so thankful for that. I brought along one last thing, a little memento from my time in ministry in Bruce Presbytery. When folks came to Bruce Presbytery no longer exists in our church. They present all clergy with this tea towel that hand embroidered. It says, "As one who serves." And I served the community of Saugeen First Nation for 7 years as part of my ministry. And so I have on this tea towel a little button that went around a little while back when our church was really engaging in those serious steps around reconciliation with First Nations peoples, a little button that says United in Reconciliation. So I'll be talking about kinship and relationships as we continue with the service, and I'm just going to leave that here on the communion table as a sign of good faith towards our First Nations people and towards all people. Oh. And forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. And now I'd invite you to join along in the responsive song. Every day we will bless you and praise your name forever.
O God, you are great and highly to be praised. Your greatness is beyond all measure.
One generation shall praise your works to another and declare your marvelous deeds.
I will speak of your splendor and glory and all your wonderful works.
You, God, are righteous in all your ways and loving in all your deeds.
You are near to all who call to you, to all who call on you in truth.
You fulfill the desire of those who revere you. You hear their cry and you save them.
You watch over all who love you, but the wicked you will destroy.
My mouth will speak your praise, O God.
Let every creature bless your holy name forever. The Bible reading is Matthew 11, verses 16 to 19, and 25 to 30 from the paraphrase, The Message. How can I account for this generation? The people have been like spoiled children whining to their parents. We wanted to skip rope, and you were always too tired. We wanted to talk, but you were always too busy. John came fasting, and they called him crazy. I come feasting, and they called me a lush, a friend of the riffraff. Opinion polls don't count for much, do they? The proof of the pudding is in the eating. Abruptly, Jesus broke into prayer. Thank you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth. You've concealed your ways from sophisticates and know-it-alls, but spelled them out clearly to ordinary people. Yes, Father, that's the way you like to work. Jesus resumed talking to the people, but now tenderly. The Father has given me all these things to do and say. This is a unique father-son operation coming out of father and son intimacies and knowledge. No one knows the Son the way the Father does, nor the Father the way the Son does. But I'm not keeping it to myself. I'm ready to go over it line by line with anyone willing to listen. Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me, and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me, and you'll learn to live freely and lightly.
Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. Sit. Sorry about that. I've misplaced my glasses. Oh, got it. Thank you, Mary. So did you hear the last part that Mary read there on that last slide? You know, in the more traditional translations, it goes like this, just in case you didn't catch it. Come unto me, all you who are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. I imagine that many of us have turned to that passage more than once during our lives when the going got tough, and we felt like we were carrying the whole weight of the world on our shoulders. Or perhaps you're just sick and tired of this pandemic and would like the world to get back on an even keel. Good luck with that. It is often comforting and helpful to spell it out or speak it out in prayer as we turn to the one who has promised us comfort and peace as we learn of and follow his teachings. What is helpful about the contemporary translation that Mary read is how Eugene Peterson puts that whole second part of this reading into its historical context. Are you tired, worn out, burned out on religion? Now, it never mentions anything like that in the traditional translations. Not directly. But if we go back to the beginning of this chapter, leading up to the reading, we find messengers from John the Baptist arriving at Jesus' feet with the question, "Are you the one we've been waiting for?" To which Jesus essentially answers, Yes, I am. And John is the one to herald and proclaim my coming. And then Jesus starts out on this little rant about this generation not knowing who or what they want to follow. The whole context of this passage is about the people being unhappy, actually downright sick and tired of the religious authorities and institutions lording it over them, even back then in Jesus' day. Sick and tired of being constantly reminded about what miserable wretches they were and all that they had to do to atone for their sin and set things right with God. It was apparently very burdensome, dealing with the guilt trip and taxing literally and figuratively to make the reparations. So people were burnt out on religion. They were out seeking an alternative, something that affirmed their intrinsic worth and value in God's eyes, their intrinsic worth in the world and in their community. But John was too austere, a desert preacher and a prophet whose path didn't appear to be very life-giving or fun. And the path that Jesus offered, while promising perhaps a viable alternative, was tempered by the fact that he would sit down and eat with anyone, reach out and touch the untouchables, empathize with the marginalized and the oppressed. And so Jesus was ranting at the people who were sitting on the fence and judging others no differently than the religious authorities with whom they were so disenfranchised. Not only that, his rant got a little more pointed in the verses that we didn't hear in between the ones that Mary read. His tone got a little more severe as he chastised the towns and cities that where he had done some of his miraculous deeds, and where his accompanying mission and ministry were largely ignored. What was true then holds true today, and throughout the intervening centuries and millennia. When our institutions start telling us exactly how we need to behave and act, well, people, if pushed far enough, will either push back or simply walk away. How many people do you know that can't be bothered with church? They've possibly gone to church seeking comfort, peace, and rest, seeking acceptance and fellowship, needing a place where they feel they belong. And sadly, some have not found what they were seeking. Perhaps they found judgment and condemnation instead. Perhaps they found the heavy burden of the law, from which Jesus promises to set us free, which is also sadly ironic. Sad when ostensibly the church, along with our sacred texts and Jesus' own teachings, are all about bringing us into right relationship with God, with one another, and with creation. Our United Church has made many meaningful steps in the right direction around embracing a theology of inclusivity and acceptance, a theology that encourages right relationship with all people. This theology has been formed even as we struggled amongst ourselves to acknowledge the intrinsic worth and value of all people, and indeed of all creation. And we can see some of the progress we've made if we go back to the formation of our denomination. In 1925, at the inaugural service of the United Church at the Mutual Street Arena in Toronto, June 10th, the gathering was virtually predominated by white, male, Anglo-Saxon clergy and lay people. Since then, as we have struggled and prayed to make a difference and be relevant in our world, the nature and structure of our institution has changed. And if we look at the string of moderators since our inauguration, for instance, and the moderator is the spiritual leader and spokesperson for our denomination, since inauguration they have included women, persons of color and other ethnicities, a First Nations person, and most recently, male and female members of the LGBTQ2+ community. Which takes me back to the prayer from Jesus in today's reading. When I read that part of the prayer about the special father-son relationship, and the relationship that the Son was willing and is willing to facilitate with all who are willing to listen, it reminded me of the passage from Jesus' prayer for his disciples in John chapter 7, verse 21. Words that are found on our crest in Latin, ut omnes unum sint, that they may all be one. As you, Father, are in me, and I am in you, may they also be in us. This close, intimate relationship with God and with Christ is at the heart of what it means to be a follower or disciple of Jesus. It's actually at the heart, if you think about it, of what it means to be human, and arguably to be part of creation altogether. Our First Nations kin, and even our Celtic kin, especially those with strong spiritual leanings, would remind us of how all things are interconnected, just like that spider web. And not just the living things, but also the inanimate objects as well. But let's focus on the living things for now. Jesus invites his followers, take my yoke upon you, learn from me. Or, as we heard this morning, walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn and I love this, learn the unforced rhythms of grace. Now, we can't literally take Jesus up on that invitation that he put out to his followers that day. We can, however, learn from his teachings and the things that are recorded about what he did. And we can easily summarize that this morning by Jesus' own response to the messengers that came from John the Baptist. Jesus told them, go back and tell John what's going on. The blind see, the lame walk, lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the wretched of the earth learn that God is on their side. Jesus made it his practice and his mission to reach out with love, compassion, and kindness to the disadvantaged in society. He ate with tax collectors and sinners of all stripes. He practiced inclusion and acceptance. We may be tired of this pandemic. We may be missing the love, fellowship, and support that are part of belonging to and being part of this community of faith. And I look out at all of the faces in the pews before me as I share that with you. I walked around for a good 15 minutes this morning just trying to connect with each one of you that would be here if things were normal. So may we claim the promise of Jesus to offer rest from all that would weigh us down, and may we be reminded from our church's own new creed, the words, "We are called to be the church, to celebrate God's presence, to live with respect in creation, to love and serve others, to seek justice and resist evil, to proclaim Jesus crucified and risen, our judge and our hope." Even though we can't get together here in this building to celebrate God's presence, we don't need this building to do any of the things we are called to do. We can look forward to connecting with each other in new ways, whereby we can maintain, sustain, and even grow new relationships, as Reverend Gord returns from his study leave this week and begins the work of establishing small groups who can use the same technology we're using here this morning to stay connected, to learn of those teachings, to learn of the mission we are called to follow. So let us lean into each other, safely and appropriately, even as we seek to make a difference in a strange new world. Let us lean into the mystery that surrounds us all, and we will get through this together, stronger in our faith than ever. Be kind to each other, all my relations. And appropriately, let us join our voices together once again, singing the hymn, "I Heard the Voice of Jesus Say." All right. The voice of Jesus say, "Come unto me and rest. Lay down, O weary one, lay your head upon my breast." I came to Jesus as I was, weary and worn and sad. I found in him a resting place, and he has made me glad. I heard the voice of Jesus say, "Behold, I freely give the living water, thirsty one, stoop down and drink and live." I came to Jesus and I drank of that life-giving stream. My thirst was quenched, my soul revived, and now I live in him. I heard the voice of Jesus say, "I am this dark world's light. Look unto me, your morn shall rise, and all your day be bright." I looked to Jesus and I found in him my star, my sun. And in that light of life I'll walk till traveling days are done. Now you remember that I invited you to dwell on a couple of questions about what you're thankful for and what's challenging perhaps during this time of pandemic and COVID. And perhaps the words that you've heard and the words that you've sung and the words that you've prayed have stirred other things within you. So let us enter into a time of silent prayer as we lift up all of these things from our hearts to God. In faith, in trust, and hope, we share all these things with you, Creator of life. Amen. We have so many ways in which we can share the gifts we bring, the diversity we offer in our lives and in our living. And so we give thanks for the ways in which people contribute to this ministry with time, talent, and treasure. So, if you are so inclined to try to make an offering and you don't know how to do that yet, check us out online, and there are options there for e-transfers to pay by PayPal. And if you want to try and figure out some other way of doing that, you can always call the office. And so the number is available publicly. Let us offer our thanksgiving for this offering in a prayer that's found in our hymn book, a prayer for the care of creation. Let us join in that together. O God, the only source of life and energy and wealth, defend our planet Earth. Teach us to conserve and not to squander the riches of nature, to use aright the heritage of former generations, and to plan for the welfare of our children's children. Renew our wonder, awaken our concern, and make us better stewards and more careful tenants of the world you lend us as our home. Hear us, O God, our Creator and Redeemer, in the name of Christ. Amen. Our closing hymn, I, the Lord of sea and sky. I, the Lord of sea and sky, I have heard my people cry, all who dwell in deepest sin, my hand will save. I who made the stars of night, I will make their darkness bright, who will bear my light to them, whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart. I, the Lord of snow and rain, I have borne my people's pain. I have wept for love of them, they turn away. I will break their hearts of stone, give them hearts for love alone. I will speak my word to them, whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, If you lead me, I will hold your people in my heart. I, the Lord of wind and flame, I will tend the poor and lame. I will set a feast for them, my hand will save. Finest bread I will provide, till their hearts be satisfied. I will give my life to them, whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord, is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart. And so, the blessing of the God of life be ours. The blessing of the loving Christ be ours. The blessing of the Holy Spirit be ours to cherish us, to help us, and to make us whole.